Harness Players Podcast back, a special second episode this week because this week ain't like every other week. There's 52 of them in a year, but only 2 of them are for Breeders' Crown. And only one of them, well, I guess both of them are actually technically 2 days now because we don't run all of them on the same day. Breeders' Crown, of course, if you're coming here because you thought this was Breeders' Cup, I encourage you to please stick around. And maybe you really like the first one because you accidentally stumbled on this. This is basically harness racing's Breeders' Cup, the year-end championships where every division goes toe-to-toe, head and nail, whatever other horse part exists on a horse's body to figure out who is the best of the best and who gets a really nice see-through trophy. And it's cool because like the words are in the middle of it, and depending on how you look, it refracts in a really groovy kind of way. But that aside, there are eliminations on Saturday. This is the second video. We had a discussion for the Friday eliminations. Encourage you to find that wherever you get your In the Money Media podcasts and on the In the Money Media YouTube channel, as it's also a video. But that was for the 2-year-olds, a la Future Stars Friday, so to speak. Now we're looking at the 3-year-olds and older competing on Saturday at Woodbine Mohawk Park, October the 18th. 8 total eliminations. Our focus going to be on the middle pick 5 in races 6 through 10, all of them Breeders' Crown eliminations. And just like in the first video we did, we have returning Mikee P and John Rallis for this discussion. And as great as Friday's card is, Saturday's card, John, I think is probably as good, if not a little better.
Yeah, it's a strong one. And I think everybody's looking forward to watching some of these top sophomores in some of their respective divisions, but even some of these aged, these open eliminations. Again, we'll get to it later on, but like you get Nijinsky, Irvin Hanover hooking up. You get some nice trotters hooking up later as well. It's going to be a pretty good weekend.
And the Breeders' Crown, like we've had a bunch of really big days in harness racing, Hambo Day, Meadowlands Pace Night, North America Cup Night, but really, Mike, as the saying goes, it all really comes down to the Breeders' Crown. You want these weekends to be the best harness racing showcase you get of the year, and I think this year we're really getting it.
We definitely have it, and I love Breeders' Crown at Mohawk. I love that venue, and I do think that you get a lot of different scenarios playing out. You can get some prices. I mean, I remember, I'm sure Johnny remembers whenever we were screaming for ammo at the top of our lungs, whenever we were up there the last time Breeders' Crown was up here at Mohawk Park. So get some prices. And it's just so much fun. The crowds are great. This is the best racing of the year, really. These 2 days on this weekend, it's fantastic. You got the eliminations, kind of get some clues. Next weekend, though, you got to dial into that Breeders' Crown final card because, that's where a lot of these divisions are decided, and that's very exciting.
I don't think we ever see a card like this, though. Sorry to interrupt, but like with so much value, right? Like, even like Ray, like Blueprint, right? Like Post 9, everybody just dismissed him because he.
Well, not me, but John, not everyone is as sharp as me and you, so it makes sense.
I remember waking up that day and I said to my dad, I said, we're gonna get Blueprint at a respectable. The colt I said is the best pacing colt in the division for how many starts, and we're gonna ignore him because he's got Post 9 in the Breeders' Crown. Like, what is he gonna do? Take back?
Well, I agree. You were saying all of this after what I had said. Yeah, that's important.
Exactly. That's what I did. Yeah, but to know, I mean, like I said, there's value to be had everywhere, right? Like, obviously, there's horses who stand out more than most, but still, like, they're going to race. So it's always a great weekend. It would be better if Mike was in town again. I'm hoping maybe he can pull that off somehow, but
it's my son's last football game, so I do really need to be in town for that. That is what's keeping me home, unfortunately. So.
All right. I have good enough excuse, I guess.
Yeah, you got to get that last touchdown before you can't get them anymore. But we also want to thank Hambletonian Society, who, of course, does such great work putting on this event year after year, and some exciting things coming with the Breeders' Crown as well. But we want to thank them for their support, helping us promote the biggest weekend of the year in the sport of harness racing. Of course, next year, Scioto. First time all the events are going to Scioto, and then after that to Lexington, after a decade plus of Meadowlands Mohawk, Hoosier Park. Okay, whatever. So let's talk about Saturday's eliminations for October the 18th. Again, 8 total. We're talking races 6 through 10. We're going to quickly mention, though, the races that come before our focus on this show. Mike, you were pointing out, like, these are still some pretty solid eliminations that are going to be taking place before we really hit prime time of the card.
Yeah, lots of good eliminations, and races 3 and 4 actually stick out very much, especially the race number 3, those 3-year-old filly trotters. And you have some Delaney Hanover, who has really turned into a monster in her last 3 starts. I know John is in love with this horse, but there's other horses in here. Lasting Dream certainly loves this racetrack. Another one of John's favorites. Mona Lishi got herself back on track in that super final last time from an outside post. So she certainly loves it here. That's a really, really nice elimination, race number 3. I'm very much looking forward to that race. And then, race number 4, you have the 3-year-old Colt Pacers, and you got Madden Oaks. We were talking offline, big driver switch here. You get Wah on board, Braxton Boyd obviously not driving for this weekend. You got the return of Prince Hanover. He's been a bit inconsistent lately. And one of my favorites, Sipping on Sea Rock. I know how much he loves Lexington, but he just missed last year in that Breeders' Crown final to Lou Print, and he's a really nice horse. I mean, he's made $1.4 million, so I'm interested to see how he does in that elimination. So those are 2 very good races. The pick 5 is going to be awesome, but I'm interested in a lot of these other races too.
And how about, you didn't even mention Fusion, who I think is just getting sharper, and he's been taking on tougher company over his last few tries and just got picked off in his most recent start. And you mentioned Madden Oaks, though, Mike. I mean, notable driver change, I'd say. I don't know if I would say big. I'm curious to know if that's, Braxton's done a great job with the Colt, but I think it's definitely something to take notice of, right? I mean, not something maybe any of us expected coming into this weekend.
And I'm glad you pointed out Fusion, because he's probably the value of that race just on a quick glance, because that entire 3-year-old division outside of Blueprint, they're all lost. Like they don't know what to do with themselves. Even down to last time, Prince Hal and Madden Oaks hooked up again, and somewhat kind of poignant battle given what they dealt with in the Meadowlands pace, going 119 to 3/4, and then both of them lose. Handsome Stranger goes over the top and wins at 87-1. Poppy's Pistol can't really find the winner's circle every now and again. So it's a intriguing division when you're trying to figure out who is next to Blueprint, if anybody. But we're going to start with not the 3-year-old pacing Colts, but some say they're very much like the 3-year-old pacing Colts in that they're also 3 years old. These are the Trotting fillies in race number 6 to start the middle pick 5 on this Saturday card. 9 going postward, 6-5 on the morning line for Yo Tilly. Her season-long win streak snapped. I would have snapped this pen for dramatic effect, but I really like this pen. It's one of the best pens I've ever had. Nonetheless, still a dramatic loss, John, to a horse that you raved about from day one in Delaney Hanover. So I guess in some respects, not a surprise who beat Yo Tilly, but I guess the big question mark here is, do we really hold that loss against Yo Tilly at all going into this race? Because Delaney Hanover won off of as picturesque a trip you could match to beat a horse like Yo Tilly.
She won off of, listen, I love Yo Tilly, and she's raced super. Nobody was beating Delaney on that particular night. I mean, she was that particular day, she was sharp. And she parlayed it with another great score in the final.
Even if the pylons didn't open, you thought Delaney Hanover was winning that race?
She was. They were not beating her. They were not beating her that day. And you know what? Look. Yo Tilly's raced super, and there's been she's been racing really, really well all season long, and was undefeated up until that point. But she lost to a filly who was better on that particular day. I think Yo Tilly's been a better filly throughout this season, obviously, but. I think it's pretty telling that they decided to skip the futurity, right? I mean, maybe she was just, I'm not sure if something either went amiss in that start, if fatigue was setting in. Me personally, I didn't love the way that she was trotting in that New Jersey Classic elimination. I mean, she won in 52 that day. She still won easy. Actually, I mean, Yo Tilly would have, Delaney Hanover actually made a miscue early on in that mile. I didn't love the way, she didn't have that same level of pop in that mile. Now she came back the next start and went a sub 51 mile. It was a great effort, but maybe either something went amiss there in that start in Lexington, or maybe fatigue is starting to set in, but they elected to skip the Kentucky Futurity, which was a big opportunity for them, right? I mean, they had a filly that you could argue was the best one going in, but they elected to skip it and have her fresh year for Canada. But, this is going to be it's her race to lose. But how good was What a Bit Hanover last time out? I know I love this filly, but I faded her on Hambo Day. I know I'm man enough to admit, listen, there's times to just jump off a horse. I don't know what trip she's going to get, and she's likely not going to get a good trip, but you can't tell me she wasn't live in Lexington in a return race.
Well, and Mike, we talked about on that Futurity show, the big question mark with a horse like her who had to scratch lame and took a lot of time off before resurfacing, whether a guy like Svanstedt would pull the shoes on her. And it was interesting to see he didn't. He pulls the shoes on everybody at Lexington. But obviously, when you're lame and you're having lameness issues, you might not want to go barefoot. So how do you evaluate a horse like What a Bit Hanover inside of this spot, knowing what she was supposed to be? Do you think that maybe she does step forward off of that comeback performance in the Philly Futurity?
I like her. I do think the fact that she's here tells you all you need to know. And the fact that she raced much better last time. I mean, look at those interior fractions. I mean, 53-3 middle half there for her. Now she finished 5th in that spot, but I just think maybe she's getting back to herself. You get Svanstedt getting geared up for these Breeders' Crown races, and he can win them when he has the horses going in the right direction, and she is. And I do like her in this race. I think that, if not this race, maybe next week when the big money comes, Inside Post here just needs to make the final. But I do think that she's interesting in here. Who goes with Yotilli in this race, right? She's going to try to go the point and dominate this race. It's an elimination, and a lot of these horses like to kind of sit back and make one move. Horses like Stormont Beautiful, who I don't know what the thought was last time getting so far back in that super final. It was just actually a ridiculous drive. And then, our Duchess obviously likes it up here, was DQ'd out of the Elegant Image final. That was questionable to say the least. And then, she was a bit too far back in that Kentucky Futurity final, but Delaney Hannah was just so good right now that maybe it didn't matter. There's other horses that can beat Yotilli in this race. And if John's right and she's going the wrong way, isn't this the time you want to bet against her? And I think you want to start this pick 5 with some prices. I would use What a Bid. I would use Stormont Beautiful again. I would use our Duchess in this spot. Maybe you could even argue maybe even Champagne Problems just with that Inside Post. Could show some speed, maybe trip out in an elimination race. I know she hasn't been very good this year, only one win, but again, elimination race. She'd be a horse I might use for a penny.
I will say I'm not saying Yotilli is going the wrong way, just that maybe something went amiss in that race prior for her to skip out on the Philly Futurity. But I think, look, when you're handicapping this race, for example, like from a handicapping standpoint, like who's going to get a free lead? Yotilli likely. If that's the way Todd wants to race her, he's got a good draw to work with. Look, she could do just about anything. I mean, he's got her push button, but you have to our Duchess is definitely leaving out of there. It was worked out. That's her 3rd straight 9-hole as well, which is tough. I mean, the post gods have not been pleasant to her. For us, Mike, like I just like the way I know the ability of What a Bit. I'm strictly picking this filly based on ability and what she looked like in that return race. She was there was one filly who caught my eye moving, and I looked down at my program, and that was her. So she's going to have to push out of there if she gets away mid-pack, we got no shot. She needs to push out of there and secure a spot because I don't see much movement. You mentioned several fillies in here, Mike, who race off the pace, right? How's Miss Belmar going to look? She hasn't looked comfortable at all times. I know she's, Noel admittedly said in a post-race paddock interview, she's not the soundest filly, but she's got ability, right, when she puts it together. But Royal Mission, Pink Choo Choo, I'm not, overly, concerned about them being win candidates here in this spot. Champagne Problems, to me, she's had tough trips. She had a 2nd tier last time out. Maybe you can excuse it, but not the same filly as a rookie. So for me, it could line up 6-9, right? And I'm hoping it lines up 6-1 or 6-9-1. But you mentioned Stormont Beautiful, though, Mike. I mean, the connections thought highly of her to supplement her into this race. It's 72,000 US to 100,000 Canadian. That'll be added into the purse, I believe, for the final. She's raced really, really well, and she proved in that Elegant Image eligibles as well as the final that she belongs, with these fillies. Whether she's at the top of her, we know she's a trip-dependent filly, but we can't deny how well she's raced.
I also want to know, like, Tilly lost going a 54 and change back half first up.
Yep.
So like to that end, if you enter a race like the Filly Futurity when your main target is the Breeders' Crown, I don't even know if fatigue is potentially an argument. I think it's a weighting of, they would also have to supplement into the Filly Futurity. So that's another thing, is you're having to pay like the 30,000-50,000 to get in. They're already eligible to the Breeders' Crown, so they don't have to supplement to that. So it's like, are you going to do that to potentially get a poor draw, take more out of your horse versus the $700,000 prize down the road? I don't know that that's an argument.
But that was a $400,000 race, though,
Mike.
Ray. I mean, it's
they
supplement.
You know the connections would supplement. You know that Bruce Armin and Bill Bill Pollock, they would.
Yeah.
They would supplement. You know guys like that would. I'm just, that's why I'll, lucky for me, I get to work in the paddock. The studio is right in the paddock. I'll be grabbing some guys for some comments, and I'll ask Andrew about his filly, about her. Again, it's like, I'm not saying anything when I miss. It's just that curious to hear his thoughts as to why he skipped out on the Filly Futurity, because it was a race he kind of talked about that he was going to go to leading up to the Breeders' Crown. So I just want to hear just his thoughts on his filly, but I don't know if she's getting tired. Just for me, I'm just curious to hear his thoughts and his assessments, because he would know best. I'm not sure what went amiss or if something went amiss. Again, this is just whatever, just me making a guess.
Well, I'll say on the record, not that I have anything off the record, but it's just from what he said at Lexington. They said they didn't think it made financial sense to supplement into the Filly Futurity when they really want to win the Breeders' Crown. That was what Harris said. If you ask him, you may get that answer again. Whether that is or not really totally up for. I feel like Occam's razor here says she raced really well. Breeders' Crown's more important. Why do we pay a lot to potentially get a bad draw and hurt what we really want to win?
Yeah. And look, it makes sense, because ultimately, I mean, we'll look at that elimination later, but it's why Irvin Hanover bypassed the Allroche, right? They wanted to focus on the Breeders' Crown. So, I mean, everybody's got a different approach on things.
And so that said, I feel like Tilly probably the most logical there. What a bid. If you could just bet a horse specifically to finish second or third, I know you could do place and show, but I mean specifically second or third, she's probably going to get there. Maybe you key her in an exact or a try or something like that. I just don't think she wins that race.
Look, given what we've seen in the body of work, we're likely going to get the type of trip that we've seen throughout her rookie campaign. And again,
what did she finish in the Breeders' Crown last year? Was it second or third, like 50-1? Fourth at 50-1.
But she had the 10-0, right?
Well, I know you had a pretty penny on that one too, but you didn't have a pretty penny on the Super.
No, I did not. Flat wager.
Let's move on to the second leg of this middle pick 5 in race number 7. It's potentially a slam dunk in terms of who is it that you're going to key in the multi-race wagers. 3-year-old pacing colts and geldings competing. Most notably, Blueprint competing from post 7 as the 2-5. Why can't we just make him 1-5? Why do we have to leave this margin of error that, for whatever reason, like everyone else is going to think all of a sudden this isn't the race? He's 1-9 inside of this race. That's my gripe. Let's make morning lines actually morning lines. But really, we had this conversation with Lou Adipa in the previous video. I feel like it stands inside of this one. What is there to say? You use Blueprint. If you don't use Blueprint, you really have to wonder, how does he lose?
Yeah. It's a testament to his dominance when we're going to spend the least amount of time speaking about this elimination, right? It has nothing to do with that we don't love watching or talking about Blueprint. From a handicapping standpoint, it's you either play against him entirely or obviously you just go all in. And who are you going to play against him with? I mean, he's never lost this year. He's looked dominant. So find a value player underneath and take a shot. But he's a single. He's going to be a universal single for everybody.
And everyone says even Niatros fell off the rail, to which I say, what rail? Could even that happen inside of a race like this? Like really, Mike, from a betting standpoint, he's the A. You move on and you enjoy watching what is probably a generational horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think you want to take too much money against it. And actually, he's getting better, and that's hard to believe, really. But the jug was an absolute waltz, and then show up at Lexington, and look, he goes 26-1, 26-3, 26-2. His final, 3 quarters. I mean, that's just almost impossible. I mean, he's so good, and he's doing it the way he doesn't even look like he's going that fast. He kind of reminds me of Bulldog in that way, that he just has that efficiency that you don't think he's going as fast as he is, but he's just improving it seems like every week now. And I don't really see anything to beat him. You have to kind of try to play exactas. But what about Manolete for an exacta possibility here underneath? I think 20-1 morning line. That's a horse that is very sharp coming out of some of those Pocono races. They had to take a step back with this horse, maybe get out of the stakes races, get into some overnights, but he's capable. And the fact that they're here, I do think is a sign of confidence. Now this is a big step up against the top dog here, but I would want to use him underneath. I think that he likes the bigger tracks. Also, I think he's very capable of catching a piece of this ticket. But they're going to bet a lot of swing time here off those last couple starts. But I'd be maybe looking to fade him out of the exacta. I'd be trying to find some others in here.
Look at who he's beaten though, Mike. Manolete, like he's beaten some quality
really
H pacers, right? Like really good horse. So like
Wallace,
you're right. He's really sharp. Vukafalis. I mean, these are quality horses. I mean, again, when you make money as a young horse, you got to step up against tougher company in some of these overnights, and he's held his own. So you're absolutely right. He's a horse that's sharp, but everybody's racing for second.
It also goes to show you just how punishing this business can be sometimes. Like Bruce Saunders, he had Rock and Roll Heaven. He's had some really good horses in his barn over the years. Older guy, still at the top of his game, and what is a generational horse potentially for a guy like him. Still has to face Blueprint. Still has to face horses like Swingtown. Like the bar has moved so high, and it's in some ways it's humbling to think. Because like Manolete in other years, he could be the best horse of a division, and it's just this division is that deep this year that he's a B string, but he's still a pretty solid racehorse. Where all this also say,
I 350, not bad for a B string. He's all right.
That's my point. It's like, imagine if there were no loop. Imagine if this was one of those lukewarm divisions that we get every couple of years. Like he easily is a millionaire.
Son of Cattle Wash. I know that crop doesn't get as much publicity, but Manolete, Smooth Dream, they've been solid. But I mean, this first crop in Ontario this year we've got some standouts, but again, Cattle Wash just pumping out some quality and fast racehorses.
I also want to note the back three quarters for Blueprint in that Tattersall is 118-3. Back three quarters. And it's ridiculous considering Mike thought that he was regressing off of that Pennsylvania Sire Stakes win.
Well, no. I mean, the jug I thought was a question mark. I do think that PA Sire Stakes final, if you watch that race, that's honestly the race this year that I thought that he could lose. And he did look like that he was going to lose the race. And you can watch the tape. I mean, most people would agree.
I think it's a good learning experience to watch that race and to figure out what potentially losing and winning by as little as possible, where those two come together in some respects. Quick note before we move on, John, what do we make a crack shot? Because obviously this is a freaky fast horse for McNair, probably racing for second, always a freak in respects to he's fast, but also he sometimes doesn't show up. And sometimes he's in the 8 path when winning the race. Won the super final by 5 lengths. What is he? What kind of factor do we think he is?
Oh, he's been super though. I mean, he's 48 and 2 mile in the super final was remarkable. He's all heart, as Doug and Greg McNair both mentioned. I mean, just not the biggest racehorse, sheer speed. It's interesting. A lot of people thought he was like a sharp horse, right? Going to that North America Cup final, right? A lot of people, he was like I thought he was like the steam horse. Everybody was talking about him being the upset player, and he took support in that NA Cup final as well. But look, he's coming into this race really, really sharp. He's one that could definitely get a good piece here because I think he's just as good as the rest of them outside of Blueprint.
Third leg of this pick 5 is race number 8, where the top 8 will advance to the Breeders' Crown final for the open trotting division. 10 go postward, 2 receiving buys. There's going to be a glaring absence here. Periculum and Southwind Cores take the buys, which when you do the census of this race, or you take inventory of this race, Eidos Kronos, not here.
Yeah, he wasn't eligible, but they didn't supplement him.
That answers that question. I didn't look to see if he was eligible in the first place. So, That said, Periculum, obviously, logical one. Southwind Cores, fun horse. Good to see him race over the last few years. He got to represent his country in the international trot. But this is a This is a pretty interesting division at this point in time. Alexis Cody has stamped himself potentially as the divisional leader, could maybe even take that crown from Periculum depending on how the final goes here. Do we make a gripe like we did in the international trot about him having the pylon post again? Because I at least made that case in the international trot, and Mike kept trying to say to me, it doesn't matter, and he got him at 3-1, and probably the easiest $500,000 check Yannick Gingras will ever win in his life. But is it a different situation here, Mike, considering we're at Mohawk? He's a fast horse. Is he just faster than the rest of them nonetheless?
Yeah, I mean, watch him in the Maple Leaf Trot. He 49-1 Maple Leaf Trot final this year over this racetrack. So, and if it wasn't for Luprint, I mean, this horse could be contending for Horse of the Year in the United States. I firmly believe that. He's been fantastic this second half of the year, almost basically unbeatable, just crushing that speed and the gate staying together. He's been awesome, and really, who's going to beat him in here? I don't. Yeah, no, it's elimination again. Here we go. There's some speedy horses in here. Logan Park's in this race. Up Your Deo's in here. They like to get away early, but he's just been so sharp. I don't see him losing. And he even won from off the pace of Dayton from a really tough spot. I mean, he's just too good right now. So, yeah, I hate to sit here and pound chalk, but what do you do? I mean, these horses are just too good right now. They're over and above anything that's really racing. It makes it difficult to make money. You have to look for value underneath. If you want to take a shot against, take your pick, really. I mean, Gaines Hanover loves this racetrack. There's a price that, comes off a nice win, but he has to step up, get back to himself. He's certainly no stranger to Breeders' Crown success. Logan Park's a really nice horse. Adds Lasix here, back from that ship to Lexington. I could see him blasting off. He's got the 10 hole. So I don't know. I mean, it's just, it's a tough race beyond the favorite in here. Maybe John has some clever ideas, maybe a security protected from an inside post. Private Access has raced well over this track also. So, it's one of those races for me, but Lexus Cody, really, really tough to beat.
Well, what I was wondering intel-wise, John, French Wine moved from Julie Miller's barn to Nancy Tactor's 2 starts ago. And I mean, French Wine's always been a really good horse. I don't know if you have any notes on if Nancy did any adjustments to him that where all of a sudden he's just clicking after a while where things weren't.
I didn't write down the changes, but I want to say that they went barefoot behind in Lexington, but I loved him in Lexington, and he worked out a perfect trip. He just didn't want to go by. He raced well. He just didn't go by. I mean, he had every opportunity to go by, not only win the race, but go by Eidos Kronos, and he just couldn't. Thought he raced well at Hoosier Park as well. I mean, for me, off that effort at Lexington, it's just a horse that I'm going to have to say I'm going to use underneath. But I think without a doubt, Lexus Cody's the one to beat. I'm going to take a shot with Up Your Deo. I'm here in the spot. Again, a horse who had an outside draw to work with, was off Lasix. I thought he finished nicely. Look, being off Lasix sometimes, especially for some of these horses, is a big impact. He didn't have to be raced overly hard. I'm not sure, if he's like a significant bleeder or not. But again, he had an outside draw. He took back and he finished up really, really well. He raced really well. And for me, I really thought that, Get a Wish. I thought he raced really well too last time. This is one who, everyone was intrigued to see him when he came over to North America. He just, had tough trips, showed that maybe he wasn't good enough with some of these, top aged horses in this division. Thought the qualifying effort at Chester was a strong one. And then I thought his race in Lexington was a good one. Again, I thought it was a sneaky good effort. He's keeping them sharp here for the final. Maybe he can pull off some sort of upset potentially. For me, I'd be looking to the Oka Svanstedt trainees to play the role of upsetters if Lexus Cody maybe has an off night. That's what it's going to take. But we've seen Up Your Day already beat Lexus Cody right at Plain Ridge. He might be able to leave out of there with his middle of the gate draw, sit a 2-hole trip if Yannick wants to try and cut this mile, and maybe he just goes by. We've seen listen, we saw Twinbee Joe Fresh get beat in an elimination last year to Grace Hill. Okay, we know these horses can get beat.
And Up Your Day obviously had that necessary rebound effort when you look at how the Dayton Trotting Derby went, but also fast fractions makes sense why he quit the way he did. And he's always been a horse that is better off of a pocket.
That's
trip.
A target, yeah.
He's a small track horse too. I mean, that's another thing. But
a small track horse maybe by virtue of if he's going to be on the lead, yeah. But on the big track, he can handle the big track well. He just has to have a target for being in a stalking spot.
Was third in that Maple Leaf in his elim, but that drew poorly in the Maple Leaf Trot Elim. Drew poorly in the final. But like I said, I wouldn't mind taking a shot with one of the Okasponstead trainees and Logan Park, outside draw or not. For me, he's got an outside draw. I think that this is going to be the night where we see an off the pace trip for him, and I think he's really going to benefit from him. I think he likely needs a trip like that.
Are you going to tell McNair that or what?
No. McNair's done a great. He's done a great job driving him. I'm not going to. I don't tell guys what to do.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move on then to race number 9. It is the lone elimination for 3-year-old pacing fillies. Stacked one, probably because there's only one. So all of the good ones have to go together, except for Rodeo Drive Deo and the Last Martini. They opted to take buys. And for what it's worth, buys were offered based off of seasonal earnings, and connections had the option to take or to race. So Rodeo Drive Deo, the Last Martini, took the opportunity for the buys. Everyone else here opting to race. The big question mark here, John, I mean, Chantilly, it seemed like her potential was endless, and then that potential somewhat ended. Not that she, became a worse horse, but it seemed like sky was the limit for what she could be. And then she just had issue after issue come up through this season. She got beat on the Grand Circuit. Bad draw this time around, but coming in off of a win in the super final. How do we really rank her against the likes of Mickey and Minnie, of Unreasonable, of even potentially under the radar horse like Faze?
I think there's probably 2 horses over her that I would bet over her in this spot. I mean, Mickey and Minnie's the standout to me right now. And which Chantilly are we going to get? I mean, she has dealt with some issues internally that Nicolucci has, spoke about openly and just said they've been trying to, get this all sorted out. It's been frustrating for them because we know the ability and the speed that she has. On October 2nd in that gold prior to the super final, you could easily say she was back. I mean, that was a remarkable performance. I mean, she looked back. I can't say, just visually, that was the same Chantilly that we saw in the super final, right? I mean, Simply the Best was the grassroots champ. She was gaining on her. That's never been the case with those caliber horses gaining on her. She didn't look as sharp at the wire. And you could, just watch the final quarters in the back half to kind of validate that. Outside draw in this spot tonight in what's a really deep division or elimination, likely going to work out an off the pace, trip. And if she's good enough, she'll definitely make the final for sure. She'll pick up a really big piece. I think she'll be up against it from a tactical standpoint because I do not see her, wanting to, park out of there in 26 and change or be like super aggressive here in the spot. I think you want to try and keep her sharp for the final. I just think that given how she raced last week, that might be, James's approach here in this spot. But for me, where she draws off that super final victory, I mean, it's Mickey and Minnie's race to lose, and good on, I like the fact that she's bypassing the bye. I think it's good to, we haven't seen her. She skipped Lexington, right? The last time we saw her get beat was in Lexington. And again, no Lasix, right? So it's a big factor.
And Mike, with a horse like Chantilly, I feel like we want to think that she's going to take money, but part of me thinks that the smart money is going to make evident that she isn't as strong of a factor as, maybe in the Fan Hanover coming up. It was questionable who was going to be 4-5, who was going to be 6-5, but I don't really think Chantilly will truly play 5-2 in a race like this. And I'm curious if you do, and just how exactly you fit her into the betting fray here.
I think she will take a fair amount of money. You say play 5-2 as in play 5-2 in multis. I think that's possible because she's still a name, right? You still see a lot of ones next to her name, especially over this racetrack. And the thing is, it's another elimination race, and like John said, she's drawn wide, but look who's drawn inside her directly. I mean, really, does some of these like the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8 really want to blast off of there? No, I don't think that they do. So she's going to be forward. I mean, she's probably going to be one too early by default because of the horses that are inside.
I see no shot of that. Zero.
So you don't think she's one too early in this race?
No shot.
Okay.
No shot.
So who's going to be ahead of her besides the 2?
Why isn't Unreasonable Unreasonable's a pretty handy racehorse. Why wouldn't she leave out? She's raced. Listen, she's the one who literally gets left under the off the radar. She's such
It's
a
because she's an Oak Grove horse.
But her
Don't
last
get
couple
the
starts, she's been
respect.
taken off the pace. She's not blasting away from there. She doesn't, she's not a horse that's typically flying away from there. I mean, if you look at her early quarters, she's not.
She can leave. She can leave, Mike.
I will tell you, she can.
But I mean, it's Marcus Miller. I mean, he's not known for blasting off from there.
He did it. He's done at
Oak
Grove.
He did it last time. He pushed out of there from post 3. He got shuffled. She got shuffled. Somehow was able to get out. She left. She's been leaving every week. She's leaving for sure.
She was a stout closer as a 2-year-old, and I was making mental notes when she was racing at Oak Grove. Eventually, I knew Marcus was going to have to try and figure out, can we get her off of the gate? And what happened? She got more aggressive. She was able to go those 26-second first quarters, and you pair that with how electric her late kick can be. Like that's what makes me love her inside of this spot. And you got a great price on her in the Glen Garnsey.
What I'm saying is that if Chantilly wants to go forward early, she's going to be one too early. And she's very difficult to beat over this racetrack. And I'm sure that they have confidence. Like the whole thought that she's just going to duck here and act like that she's not the horse of the year. She hasn't lost that many races. I'm not saying I like her in this race, but she's going to be forward. Well, if you think she's going to take back, unless you know something I don't.
There's no taking back. You guys have this misconception that leaving has to be 1-2. Leaving, you don't have to get away 1-2.
What makes you say that? Like, what makes you think you know what I think?
No.
What conceptions I have? Like, I don't understand why you.
I mean, to be fair, you're saying she's going to be 1-2.
What I'm not saying she's not going to leave. You're saying take back. I'm saying she will not be 1-2. That's all I'm saying.
Rewind to tape, Bray, and he said she's going to get an off the pace trip. He said it. It came out of his mouth.
Yeah, but that means you could, like, from post 9, she could still leave and get away 4th or 5th.
Exactly.
Work a second over trip.
All I'm saying is 1-2. That's all I'm saying. I don't think she'll get away 1-2 in this spot. I don't look when you race against horses that you're far more superior with. Horses like racing a certain style. Chantilly's versatile, but you could see when she chases down horses throughout her career, she's a fright train. She just comes quickly. When you race horses that you're far better than, you go to the front, and you get the level of respect, and you crush them. She did that last time out. She got the respect because she was 1-9 coming off a romp in that gold. And guess what? She did not finish up with the same level of conviction that we've seen in some starts prior. I think off an effort like that, coupled with the fact she's got an outside draw, I don't see James wanting to go out of there and park past a quarter and 26 to make front and this and that. Wouldn't you want a filly coming into the final sharp? And if she's on her game, she could get away 6. If she's the Chantilly we know from especially 2 weeks ago, she'll make the final. No problem. She did not finish up her mile all that well. She's had issues over the past couple of months that they've been doing their best to rectify. James I don't think he's going to go out of there and want to just gut her early on in that first quarter. And if she's the Chantilly we know, she'll withstand it and race well, without a doubt.
You assume though that they're going to be like that. Everyone else is going to be flying out of there early, also. And again,
there's a lot of sharp fillies. There's a lot of sharp.
The top 8 make the final here. The top 8 make the final. There's nobody that's going to be blasting off.
Something? Something? I didn't even realize it was top 8. Okay, so you know something? She might not even get away top 4 then.
So then she's taking back.
Now, you know what? But honestly, like I just don't see them wanting to, exert all that energy from an outside draw and in a limb, especially given what we saw last week, given what she's dealt with. So, and again, Mike, there's a lot of sharp horses in this race. There's a lot of them. And I think Unreasonable is going to leave out of there. I think Looks Good and Lulu's definitely going to leave out of there. I mean, Pelling's filly raced well last time out. Rose raced well. I mean, she's a handy filly. So Chantilly.
I think you need to play this race for an upset, obviously. If you think that she's not really racing to win, and then you have Mickey and Minnie, who really, is really focused on the final. Yes, that she's superior to these horses. She rarely loses. She's inside. But I would play this race for an upset. I mean, especially if you're against them.
And for me, the upset would be to go with, if I'm not liking Mickey and Minnie, I'm going against Chantilly in this spot. But Mickey and Minnie, the fact that she had a qualifier to prep for this elim, the fact that where Chantilly draws, what I saw last time, we're not talking about just the ability. It's how you're coming into this race. And I think Mickey and Minnie's going to win this race at a short number.
Yeah, she's probably an A, and then I have the 5 and 7 as B's. FaZe, I really agree, is racing pretty well. Again, only raced at Lexington, so we're going to figure it out. But, I mean, she's bred to be really good if she is good.
Yep.
Sweet Lou out of Darlin on the Beach. Darlin on the Beach, Breeders' Crown winner at 3. Am I right about that? Someone will look that up. She was at least one of the top ones in her division. I can't remember who the other one was.
I don't think she won the Breeders' Crown.
Oh, she may have been second. She was a really nice filly for Nancy Tactor. That much I do remember. We're going to move on to the last leg of this pick 5, race number 10. First of 2 eliminations for the Breeders' Crown Open Pace. 9 go postward in year. This conversation potentially brief unless Mike is feeling quite enamored on the Nijinsky train off of his 2 performances. Does your love of Nijinsky outweigh your respect for Irvin Hanover? Perhaps the bigger question.
I don't know. That's a good question. I love Nijinsky. I thought that the drive on September 27th was a little, I mean, he probably should have won that race and he didn't. And then he came back and raced very well. He loves his track. He's very, very, very good. And I like the way that they've trained him into this Breeders' Crown. Irvin Hanover has danced a lot of dances, though. He is very good, very sharp, winning at races at Dayton, winning at Scioto. He's very good also. He's had a fantastic season. There's no denying that. But I'm going to stick with the home team here. And I do think that he could end up with the right trip. If he leaves, he's going to end up in the pocket here. I don't want By the Missile at all. He can beat me. I don't want Captain Albano. He can beat me. Captain Luke, all these other horses, forget it. I do think you can lock the race up 2-4. And depending on the price on the Nijinsky, if you get over 2-1, I would bet him on the win end.
I don't know that I agree with that, John, but you're nodding your head. Yes. Am I the weasel here just succumbing to Irvin Hanover?
I'm not saying that I'm not saying who I think or that Nijinsky's going to win the Elim, but I agree with Mike's assessment. Again, you don't have to agree with who you think is going to win, but you can still agree from a value standpoint what he's saying. Nijinsky, look, he's Louis' choice in this spot, right? I mean, sure, it was a tough decision for him, right? I mean, he was listed on both. He opted for Nijinsky, who I think, obviously the deciding factor was that 47 and 4 mile last time. But look, that race meant nothing in the grand scheme of things. But what it meant was, let's see how tight this guy is. Can he go a quick mile? Because the waters are going to get deeper in the Breeders' Crown. And I've got a horse right now who's arguably the best in this division. Who am I going to take? And I'm sure it was a really tough decision. Look, Nijinsky gave Louis arguably his biggest thrill of his racing career, winning that NA Cup. But he's a damn good horse. And he would have been a top aged pacer in this division had he not had that setback and had he not been shut down. So I think those efforts, I think he's good to go here in the spot. But tell you what, you lose Louis Juan, you get to pick up Dexter Dunn. I mean, who booked off a few other rivals here in the spot as well, and horses he's been driving. That's a pretty good pickup for Dave Maneri. And again, as Dave mentioned, bypassing the All-Arash to focus on the Breeders' Crown. I don't think Dave's ever won a Breeders' Crown, so I know this would mean a lot for him. And I'm going to side with Irvin in this spot. I will side with Irvin, but that's the draw's interesting though, Mike, because Captain Albano, he draws in between them. He's back on Lasix. I don't know if it's a big track thing where he just doesn't race as good, or if it's the fact it was.
He's not good on the lead. Captain Albano has always been a horse that needs a target.
No, but he's been good on the lead. Listen, he's the best small track horse we've ever seen. And to be honest,
on a small track, yeah.
If he cut that mile, that's at Dayton, he wins that race. But Louis won the race with the drive when he knew he had to blitz to the lead and try and overtake him. Otherwise, he was not getting beat. In my opinion, he was so good he wasn't getting beat. So he doesn't, for whatever reason though, Ray, I mean, I've seen him in some of those other, big track efforts, hasn't always snapped off the car as fast as some of these other horses, which is bizarre. But maybe last time out had a little bit to do with the fact he was off Lasix too. But I'm gonna play against him in this spot, even though, I mean, Mike loves Nijinsky. I'm a big Captain Albano fan. I really am, and he's a really, really good racehorse, and he's had another tremendous year. Like we saw as a 3-year-old, took a little bit of time to get himself into form, and he's certainly in form. But what a great division, and what a great way these horses line up.
What's the math on that back 3/4 of Nijinsky's last race, by the way? It's either 119 or 118. I can't because he went 28-1 to the first quarter, and then 119-3 was kind of what I was thinking. So yeah, still, I don't know that Irvin Hanover's uncorked that type of speed. So I'll give a point in Mike's corner to that front if it somehow lines up 2-4. We know how good Nijinsky is with the target.
One thing I'll tell you is, again, to Mike's point, like Louis also knows how good Irvin is. I mean, he knows that he's gotten a chance to drive both horses. So It's real. I don't know. Is Nijinsky, that mile was good enough, but again, is he going to get the job done in the elim? I don't know, right? But he
hopefully not, so we can get him next week at a bigger price, because then the hammer will fall, guaranteed.
Yeah, but it's but as Mike mentioned, if you get 2-1 on Nijinsky, that's a really good number in this race on a horse that has got all the ability to get the job done and is coming in razor sharp.
I also think for underneath spots, Captain Luke's an interesting one, getting back on Lasix as well. He's going to get totally dismissed at 20-1 on the morning line. You could probably pump up your exactas and tries based on how the race sets up, because you also don't know what Ruthless Hanover is going to do after going 119 in a consolation.
Oakwood Arda never draws well. I mean, he just never draws well. If he draws, I mean, everybody else draws much better. That horse has raced really, really well, all season long. But I just wish he could snap off the car a little quicker.
I guess anyone have any notes for the last Breeders' Crown Eliminations? Race number 11 falls outside of this pick 5 sequence, but it's the other elimination for the open pace. Maximus Mickey looking to keep good things going. Canadian Pacing Derby winner comes back to Mohawk. Ken Hanover. John, you saw Ken Hanover at Lexington. He never looked like a loser that entire race.
I loved him. I really did love him in that spot. I was on, on set working with Jess, and some people, thought, I remember speaking to some people leading up to the weekend saying that they didn't think he was a factor at Dayton last time. He wasn't a factor because he didn't get away in a great spot. But if you saw the way that he was moving at the back half of his mile, if you really just watch him closely, he was a horse that gave everybody an indication that he was sitting on a really big effort, and he did, and you got rewarded with $11. Again, this division's been so fascinating because we've seen horses go up and down, right? It was once Ken Hanover's division, it was once another horse's division, Maximus Mickey, then Irvin. Again, it's all going to come down to next weekend, right, to cap it off.
And I
was in there. Sorry, Ray. Coach Stefano's starting to ramp back up again.
Oh yeah,
we know how dangerous he can be with that big late kick of his, and he's unleashed it the past couple weeks at Hoosier. Now he shows up here to get James McDonald back, who certainly is familiar with him. So be interested. Maybe this week try to make the final, but next week for sure. I think you want to have him somewhere on tickets because he's the fastest horse late in miles, especially off fast paces. So he'd be one that I would keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, never raced. To be honest, just never really raced well at Mohawk, though. That's the only thing. I mean, he's got that 1/3 place finish at the Gold Cup. He's only raced here 3 times, but never really been a factor for whatever reason here.
I was also going to mention when I was doing the press release for the Alaraj Pace, and I saw a buck up at Hanover was second. When was the last time this horse was 40-1? Second at 40-1. He's the divisional champ.
He's so hit and miss now.
Yeah, he likes that trip though, Ray, right? Sit, hide, and just let him rattle off a final quarter.
Right, like in the grand scheme of things, it made sense he was second. But when I was writing the story, I saw he was 40-1, and I had to look back and go, "Wait, is that the same horse? Am I looking at the right race?" Because I was looking at the wrong race for one story.
I just can't believe Mike's not doing the handicapping for Nahu on Breeders' Crown, both nights on Breeders' Crown.
I didn't say I wasn't doing it.
Oh, for the elims. I thought for the elims.
Yeah, I'll get it.
All right.
That'll be free analysis available at nahupicks.com, nahupicks.com. That does it for this discussion of Breeders' Crown Saturday. If for some reason you saw this and not our discussion of Friday's races, you can find the podcast version of that wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, the video version of it's going to be on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. You're going to want to be subscribed to the In the Money Media YouTube channel, not just because at 15,000 subscribers, Pete Fornatal is going to finally learn how to ride a bicycle. He's been meaning to figure it out. He falls over. If you ever watched him on the shows, you're like, why does he have all these weird bruises on his body? It's because he keeps falling off of his bicycle. And so he decided that that's going to be the number. We're going to figure it out. And aside from that, if you're subscribed, you're going to catch our live roundtable here next week. Big showing. John's not going to be here because it's hard enough to get John as it is. Every other track wants him. We're lucky when he remembers that we're his friends. But we're going to have other friends here. I myself, Mike Barbosi, are going to be on that live roundtable. We're going to have Adam Bowden of Diamond Creek Farm. He's going to join us again for that Breeders' Crown discussion. Derek Givner of the Daily Racing Forum and Garnett Barnsdale, Horse Players Journal at Woodbine Mohawk Park, going to be on that show as well next week. So you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed to the In the Money Media YouTube channel for that. But really, because Pete should really learn how to ride a bicycle. I think at his age, it's now or never. And especially being in New York City, that's a useful skill to know how to ride a bike. The same way it's useful for you to catch all the other great content we have coming on the In the Money Media Network. Breeders' Crown, of course, finals next week. Breeders' Cup the week after that. And then we're going to do this all again in 2026. Once more, thanks to the Hamiltonian Society for sponsoring this content from In the Money Media Network. And we will see you next week for that live roundtable discussion.